Welcome to Barron's Roundtable, where we get behind the headlines that prepare you for the week ahead. I'm Jack Howe, in for Jack Otter. Coming up, stocks keep climbing despite economic concerns. Is this a melt-up or the next AI-fueled leg of a bull market? Plus, we're serving up a taste of the market's restaurant fads, tracking the hottest IPO menus on Wall Street. But we begin with our expert panel and three things investors ought to be thinking about right now. On the Barron's Roundtable, my colleagues, Al Root, Megan Leonhardt, and Andrew Bary. Al, let me start with you. The market rally broadened out this past week. What can you tell me?
Yeah, I think it was good news. More record closes. Stocks only go up. Second week in a row, major indices all gained, basically between 1% and 2%. The story was really, it wasn't led by big tech. NVIDIA was down almost 2% for the week. President Trump's comments on chip tariffs might have something to do with that. Healthcare was the best performing sector. That was a laggard coming into the week. Small caps had a big rally. Which was
4 people out there are cheering right now for small cap.
But, you know, sometimes we talk about market concentration, which is still an issue, but it's nice to see the other 493 stocks in the S&P help out.
Yeah, we got an inflation report. It seemed pretty well received.
Yeah, inflation came out. The headline number was a little bit better than expectations. The core number, which excludes food and energy, because economists don't like to eat or travel, was a little worse than expected, but stocks only go up. Market was up 1.1% on Tuesday.
Yeah, but let's talk about the wholesale inflation report. That was rough. It was an upside surprise of pretty epic proportions. It was up 0.9% on the month. And of course, that was the biggest jump in 3 years. Now, most of this was due to service, but we did see those tariffs start to creep in. And of course, that could lead to additional consumer inflation in the coming months.
Okay, Al, what are you watching in the week ahead?
Well, importantly for me, you get earnings, Home Depot, Lowe's, and Walmart. So we get to hear about housing and the consumer. And then we get to hear from Fed Chair Jerome Powell at Jackson Hole, which is sort of an academic conference. They all go and chat up. The topic this year is labor markets, which is a big, deciding factor on whether he's going to cut rates in September. So Jackson Hole, find it on a map and then figure out what Jerome's going to say.
Okay, Megan, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said this past week that core interest rates should be at least 1.5 lower than they are now. He later clarified he's not trying to tell the Fed what to do. He's just thinking it, I guess. Is he right about the 1.5 lower?
Well, look, rates are on everyone's mind, right? And it is one of those things where I think Secretary Bessent was really focused on those employment numbers, like, we've been talking about, very important here. But you've got to look at the whole picture. And as we pointed out, inflation still above the Fed's 2% target. It still isn't looking fantastic, and it's actually going in the wrong direction at this point. So I think a big rate cut right now might be a little bit outside the cards. But again, we'll have to wait to see what Powell says next week.
Well, what's the bigger danger, that the Fed pulls a Bessent that proves premature, or it does a non-Bessent that proves overly cautious?
Both sides of this coin have consequences. If the Fed cuts, too early, it could be one of those situations where we lose confidence in, their ability to manage this inflation. If it cuts too late, it could be one of those things where it ends up being a huge drag on the economy.
I think Bessent has a point. The short-term rates are 4.5% or so right now. Inflation is under 3 right now. I think short rates could be a half point to a full percentage point lower without much impact on the inflation rate. So I think that's what the markets are discounting over the next year or so.
It is one of those things, a quarter point, a half point cut. Bottom line is this could not really do that much for employment, and it may not do much for mortgage rates either.
Andrew, Larry Ellison's kid bought Paramount from Sumner Redstone's kid. Is that a good thing for investors?
Well, David Ellison, who's Larry Ellison's son, didn't quite buy it. He's the new CEO of Paramount, which is called Paramount, a Skydance company. That's his father is the big backer. The Ellison family's worth about $300 billion, a lot of money behind it. So I think it's good news for Paramount shareholders. You saw that play out this past week. The stock, which was under a lot of pressure, popped to around 14 from 11. I think there could be more upside to come.
The big UFC deal for Paramount. Are we going to get a UFC event on the front lawn of the White House, and when? And a quick follow-up, do you plan to drop down to 170 to compete as a welterweight, or are you going up to 185 as a middleweight?
Well, Dana White, who's the head of UFC, is promising a UFC cage fight on the South Lawn of the White House in conjunction with the 250th anniversary of the country next year. So that's something to look forward to. And I think I'll stick at 170. I think it'd be too tough for me.
Stay nimble. You got to stay nimble
and agile.
For investors who are eyeing this stock, where do you think it's headed?
Well, Ellison and Skydance, they got warrants, which are long-term options struck at $30 a share over the next 5 years. They think the stock, which is 14, is going to be above 30 in the next 5 years. And I think that they have a plan to do it. They're willing to invest. There are also going to be some cost cuts, and they got some good assets in the CBS TV network, the Paramount movie studio, and the streaming service. So
still a lot of challenges in linear TV, but it's good to have management on your side with a stake?
It's good to have management on your side with $300 billion behind you to help make the thing work. So I think they're very competitive, the Ellison family, and particularly Larry Ellison. They want to make this thing work, and the Redstones were kind of checked out. So I think new sheriff in town, which is going to be good news for Paramount shareholders.
Let's see.